The espresso cup slips from Julien's hand the moment he sees his own face staring back at him. Not a mirror. Not a photograph. A child, no more than 4 years old, laughing behind the glass window of Café Laurent, tugging insistently at the sleeve of a man who could buy and sell Julien's entire company before breakfast. Luca Ferri. The name alone commands silence in boardrooms across 3 continents. Cold. Calculating. Untouchable. Yet here he sits in worn denim, bending down with surprising gentleness to whisper something that makes the boy giggle. But it's the third person at the table who makes Julien's world tilt on its axis. Elias. Even through the winter-frosted glass, Julien would recognize those delicate features anywhere. The Omega who once promised to love him forever. The Omega he'd asked to disappear. 5 years. 5 years of carefully constructed distance, of telling himself he'd made the right choice, that an unexpected pregnancy would have ruined everything they'd built. 5 years of believing Elias had simply moved on. He'd never imagined this. Elias reaches across the table with easy familiarity, brushing chocolate from the corner of the child's mouth. The gesture is so tender, so naturally parental, that something sharp lodges itself between Julien's ribs. Then Luca's hand covers Elias's. Not possessive. Simply there. Present in a way Julien never learned to be. The child, his child, Julien's mind screams, looks up at Luca and says something Julien can't hear through the glass. But he can read Luca's lips perfectly. Yes, mon cœur. My heart. The casual endearment, the practiced ease, the way Elias doesn't pull away, it all paints a picture Julien suddenly desperately needs to understand. He'd done the math 1,000 times in the weeks after Elias left. Had tortured himself with the possibility before ultimately deciding it was better not to know. Cleaner. Simpler. But mathematics doesn't lie. The child was conceived during their engagement. The dates align perfectly with their last weekend in Nice, when Julien had actually let himself be present, had actually made love to Elias like he meant something. Before fear made him cruel. The boy shifts in his seat and winter sunlight catches his profile. Julien's own nose. His mother's chin. That stubborn set to his jaw that Julien sees every morning in the mirror. The evidence is undeniable. That's his son calling another man Papa. Julien's breath comes in short, painful gasps. His pulse hammers against his temples. The busy Geneva street blurs around him as a single memory surfaces with devastating clarity. You're being hysterical, Elias. We can fix this quietly. No one has to know. Fix this? Julien, this is our... Don't. Just don't. I never agreed to this. You were supposed to be careful. The look on Elias's face that night. Not anger. Worse. Disappointment so profound it had made Julien feel like a stranger to himself. He'd convinced himself he was being practical. Protecting their future. They were both barely 30, their careers just taking off. A child would have complicated everything. But watching Elias now, confident, radiant, whole in a way he never was during their engagement, Julien realizes the truth he's been running from. He hadn't been protecting their future. He'd been protecting himself. Inside the cafe, Luca lifts the boy onto his lap with practiced ease, and the child burrows against his chest like he belongs there. Like he's done it 1,000 times before. Elias smiles, soft and genuine and utterly content, in a way he never smiled at Julien. The contrast is devastating. Julien had loved Elias. He's certain of that. But he'd loved him carefully, conditionally, always with one foot out the door in case things got too complicated. And when they did, he'd run. Someone else hadn't. Through the window, Elias glances up. For one suspended moment, their eyes meet. Julien expects anger. Accusations. The rage he probably deserves. Instead, Elias's expression shifts through something that looks almost like pity. Then he simply looks away, turning his attention back to the family Julien chose to abandon. The dismissal is surgical. Julien doesn't exist here. He's irrelevant to this moment, to this life, to the child who should have been his. His hands shake as he pulls out his phone, fingers hovering over Elias's old number. It's still saved. He never could bring himself to delete it. But before he can make that mistake, the cafe door opens. Luca emerges first, the boy perched easily on his hip. Elias follows, and Julien's breath catches at how beautiful he still is. More beautiful, somehow, without the weight of Julien's expectations crushing him. They walk past Julien without noticing him. The boy is chattering excitedly in rapid French and Italian, switching between languages with the ease of a child raised in multiple worlds. Worlds Julien should have given him. Papa, can we get gelato? Per favor? Luca laughs, rich and genuine. Mathis, you just had chocolate. Mathis. His son has a name. A personality. A whole existence Julien knows nothing about. But Papa Luca always says yes. The boy, Mathis, argues with devastating logic, grinning up at Elias. Papa Luca spoils you, Elias corrects, but there's no heat in it. Only affection. Papa Luca. The words hit Julien like a physical blow. They're halfway down the street when Mathis drops something, a small stuffed elephant. It tumbles onto the cobblestones directly in front of Julien. He picks it up on instinct, the worn fabric soft against his palm. Well loved. Precious. Mathis turns back, those impossible familiar eyes, Julien's eyes, meeting his for the first time. Merci, monsieur. The boy doesn't recognize him. Why would he? Julien tries to speak, but his throat has closed. He manages to hand over the toy with trembling fingers. Mathis takes it and runs back to his parents, who are waiting a few steps ahead. Elias's gaze finds Julien again. This time there's something else in his expression. Not pity. Not anger. Understanding. He sees exactly what Julien has realized. And that somehow makes it worse. Come, mon ange, Luca murmurs, his hand settling protectively on Elias's lower back. It's getting cold. They disappear around the corner, a perfect unit of 3, leaving Julien alone on the cobblestones with the weight of 5 years of mistakes pressing down on his chest. His phone buzzes. A message from his assistant about tomorrow's merger meeting. The deal he's been working on for months. The career he prioritized over everything else. It all feels meaningless now. Because somewhere in Geneva, his son is asking for gelato. And Julien isn't the one who gets to say yes. Chapter 2, The Life Before the Fall. 5 years earlier, Paris. Elias stares at the positive test in his trembling hands and allows himself for exactly 3 minutes to be happy. The bathroom of their Marais apartment is perfectly appointed. Marble countertops, heated floors, the kind of luxury Julien insists reflects their rising status in Paris society. Everything in their life together is carefully curated. Beautiful. Controlled. Including, Elias has learned, their affection. But this tiny collection of cells growing inside him, this is real in a way nothing else has been for months. He'd noticed Julien pulling away after the engagement party. Small things at first. Working later. Checking his phone during dinner. That distracted look when Elias spoke about wedding plans, like he was solving an equation instead of listening. Elias had convinced himself it was normal. Pre-wedding jitters. The pressure of Julien's promotion to senior partner. Alphas showed love differently, through providing, protecting, not grand romantic gestures. He'd told himself this so many times he'd almost believed it. But a baby would change everything. Babies made things real. Permanent. Undeniable. This would remind Julien why they'd chosen each other in the first place. Elias places one hand over his still flat stomach, imagining the future. Julien's face when he tells him. Surprise giving way to joy. Those rare, genuine smiles Elias fell in love with. Maybe Julien would even pull him close the way he used to, before everything became so carefully measured. The apartment door opens. Elias? I need to leave for London in an hour. The Beaumont contract. Julien stops in the bathroom doorway, his tailored suit already perfect, briefcase in hand. He's always leaving for somewhere these days. His eyes drop to the test in Elias's hand. For one suspended moment, Elias sees something flicker across his alpha's face. Not joy. Something closer to calculation. Julien, Elias breathes, hope and fear tangling in his chest. I know this is unexpected, but... How far along? Julien's voice is unnaturally calm. Too calm. The question isn't what Elias expected. Not are you sure or how do you feel or even what do we do. Just facts. Dates. Information. I don't know exactly. Maybe 6 weeks? From that weekend in Nice. Nice. Julien sets down his briefcase with careful precision. When was your last heat? Julien, does that really... When, Elias? The sharpness in his tone makes Elias flinch. 8 weeks ago. But you know I'm irregular, the doctor said. So you're certain of the timing? It's not a question. Something cold unfurls in Elias's stomach. What are you asking me? Julien runs a hand through his perfectly styled hair, disrupting it for the first time in months. I'm asking if you're certain this is, if the dates align with. He trails off, but the implication hangs between them like poison. With you? Elias's voice breaks. You're asking if you're the father? I'm asking for certainty. We've been careful, Elias. You know how important timing is right now. The partnership, the merger. I'm pregnant with your child and you're worried about a merger? The words come out louder than Elias intends. Julien's jaw tightens. That look he gets when emotions threaten the order he's so carefully constructed. Don't be hysterical. I'm trying to understand the situation. Hysterical. Elias laughs, brittle and sharp. I'm telling you we're having a baby and you're treating it like a quarterly report. Julien's expression shifts into something that looks almost like patience. The kind you'd use with a child. Elias, listen to me. This is serious. We need to think rationally about our options. Our options. Yes, options. Julien steps closer, his scent, cedar and bergamot, once comforting, now feels suffocating. We're not ready for this. Neither of us. You're only 28. I just made partner. We haven't even set a wedding date. So we set one. We adjust. People do this all the time. People who are ready. People who plan for it. Julien's voice is maddeningly reasonable. This wasn't the plan, Elias. You know that. The plan. Always the plan. Their relationship has been nothing but plans from the beginning. Planned dates. Planned sex during Elias's heats. A planned engagement at precisely the right moment in Julien's career trajectory. Elias had mistaken planning for love. Plans change, he whispers, hating how small his voice sounds. They don't have to. Julien reaches for him and Elias instinctively steps back. Something flickers in his alpha's eyes, hurt maybe or just irritation at this deviation from script. There are solutions. Quiet, safe solutions. No one has to know. The words land like ice water. Solutions. Elias's hand moves protectively to his stomach. You mean? I mean we can handle this before it becomes a problem. Before anyone asks questions or makes assumptions. A problem. Our child is a problem. It's not a child yet, Elias. It's a complication. One we can resolve. Resolve. Elias tastes bile. Like a business deal. Julien's patience is clearly wearing thin. You're being emotional. This is exactly why we need to think clearly. In a few years, when we're actually ready, when the timing is right. The timing will never be right. The shout tears from Elias's throat. There will always be another merger, another partnership, another reason to wait. Lower your voice. The neighbors. I don't care about the neighbors. For the first time in their 2-year relationship, Elias sees genuine anger cross Julien's face. Not the controlled frustration he's witnessed before, but real fury. Then maybe you should care about me. About us. About what this will do to everything we've built. We haven't built anything. You've built a career and I've just been decorating the background. The truth of his own words hits Elias like a slap. All those dinner parties where he played the perfect Omega fiancé. The charity galas where he smiled and charmed and made Julien look good. The careful molding of himself into exactly what an ambitious alpha partner needed. When had he stopped being a person and become an accessory? Julien's expression goes cold. Close. If that's how you feel, then perhaps we need to reconsider more than just the pregnancy. The threat is clear. Choose the baby or choose him. Elias's hands shake. You would leave me? Over this. I would leave a situation that doesn't serve either of us anymore. Julien adjusts his cufflinks. A nervous tell Elias has learned to recognize. You're clearly not happy. I'm clearly not what you need. Maybe this is a sign that we rushed into things. We've been together for 2 years. We're engaged. An engagement we can quietly end before it becomes legally complicated. Legally complicated. Like their love was a contract with an escape clause. Elias feels something inside him crack. Not break. Breaking would be too clean. This is a fracture, messy and painful, the kind that never quite heals right. You don't want this baby. It's not a question anymore. I don't want to make a mistake we'll both regret. Wait, you mean you? Julien doesn't deny it. The silence stretches between them, filled with everything they're not saying. All the ways Elias bent himself into smaller and smaller shapes. All the times Julien accepted that bending without question. What if I keep it? Elias asks quietly. What if I refuse to resolve this? Julien's jaw works. Then you do it alone. I won't be trapped into fatherhood by carelessness. Carelessness. The word is a blade. Is that what you think this is? What else would you call getting pregnant when we specifically agreed to be careful? We were careful. I was on suppressants, we used protection during my heat. Clearly not careful enough. The accusation hangs in the air, ugly and final. Elias looks at this man he promised to marry. Really looks. Past the handsome face and expensive suits and carefully constructed image. He sees someone who will always choose the easier path. Someone who loves in theory but not in practice. Someone who will support you right up until the moment it cost him something. I was careful, Elias says, his voice steady despite the tears streaming down his face. I was careful with my suppressants and my cycle and my birth control. But you know what I wasn't careful with? My heart. I gave it to someone who was never going to keep it safe. Julien flinches. Elias. No. You don't get to Elias me anymore. He pulls off the engagement ring, platinum and diamonds chosen by Julien's mother, and sets it on the marble counter. You're right about one thing. This relationship doesn't serve either of us. It never did. You're making a mistake. No. I made a mistake 2 years ago when I convinced myself that someone who measured love and conveniences could ever really love me. He walks out of the bathroom, past Julien's frozen form into their bedroom. Their carefully decorated, emotionally sterile bedroom. It takes him 20 minutes to pack a suitcase. Julien doesn't try to stop him. Doesn't apologize. Doesn't take back the cruelty or offer to try. He just stands in the doorway watching Elias dismantle 2 years in 20 minutes, his expression unreadable. At the apartment door, Elias pauses. Some part of him, the stupid, hopeful part, expects Julien to break. To beg him to stay. To say he's sorry and they'll figure it out together. Julien's phone buzzes. He checks it. That's my car service. The London flight. Of course. The merger. The contract. The plan. Always the plan. Goodbye, Julien. Elias walks out, the door clicking shut behind him with a finality that sounds like the end of everything. He makes it exactly 3 blocks before he has to sit down on a bench, suitcase at his feet, and let himself completely fall apart. Around him, Paris continues its beautiful indifference. Couples stroll past, tourists take pictures. Life moves forward like his heart isn't breaking into pieces small enough to slip through the cracks in the sidewalk. His phone buzzes. For one foolish second, hope flares. It's not Julien. It's his mother. Remember lunch tomorrow? Bring Julien. Can't wait to discuss wedding plans. XXX. Elias deletes the message. Then he deletes Julien's number. Then he blocks it before his weakness can outweigh his sense. The November wind cuts through his coat. He's homeless. Jobless. He'd quit his position at the gallery when Julien suggested it would be better for him to focus on supporting his career. Pregnant with a child whose father just suggested he didn't exist. He has nothing. Except the tiny heartbeat growing inside him that already loves him more than Julien ever did. Elias stands, picks up his suitcase and starts walking. He doesn't know where he's going. But he knows he can't stay here, in this city full of memories of a love that was never quite real. By nightfall he's on a train to Milan. By morning he's crying in a hostel bathroom, morning sickness and heartbreak competing for which can destroy him first. By the end of the week, he's starting to understand that sometimes the worst thing that can happen to you is also the thing that sets you free. Chapter 3, The Stranger Who Stayed. 4 months later, Milan. Elias doesn't remember falling. One moment he's standing at the registration desk of the European Tech Innovation Summit, trying to ignore the judgmental stares at his visible bump beneath his carefully chosen shirt. The next, the marble floor is rushing up to meet him and everything goes dark. He wakes to the antiseptic smell of a private clinic and the worst fear he's felt since leaving Paris. The baby. His hand flies to his stomach, still round, still there, and a quiet voice says, "Your son is fine." Strong heartbeat. The doctor just checked. Elias's head snaps toward the voice. The man sitting in the corner of his private room is breathtaking in a way that has nothing to do with conventional attractiveness and everything to do with presence. Dark hair silvering at the temples, sharp cheekbones, and eyes that seem to see through pretense. He's dressed simply, black sweater, dark jeans, but everything about him screams power. Elias recognizes him immediately. Luca Ferri. Tech mogul. Venture capitalist. The man who turned a failing startup into a multi-billion-euro empire before he was 35. Featured in Forbes, Bloomberg, every major business publication. And completely, utterly out of place in Elias's hospital room. Monsieur Ferri? Elias's voice comes out hoarse. Why are you? You collapsed during my keynote presentation. Luca's Italian accent is subtle, refined. Security called an ambulance. I wanted to make sure you were all right. Oh God. Mortification floods through Elias. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to disrupt. You didn't disrupt anything. Luca leans forward slightly. When was the last time you ate? The question is so unexpected, so gentle, that Elias feels tears prick his eyes. He's been asked a lot of questions over the past 4 months, mostly invasive ones about the father, about his situation, about his plans. No one has asked if he's eaten. Yesterday? Maybe? Yesterday. Luca's expression doesn't change, but something flickers in his dark eyes. And before that? I don't remember. It's the truth. The past 4 months have been a blur of survival. The hostel, then the cramped studio apartment in a neighborhood where no one asks questions. Freelance translation work that barely covers rent. Eating becomes optional when you're choosing between food and prenatal vitamins. His friends from Paris stopped calling after the first few weeks of vague excuses. The art world, so welcoming when he was Julien's fiancé, closed its doors the moment he became a pregnant Omega without an alpha's protection. Invitations disappeared. Contacts went cold. Even his mother, after one disastrous phone call where Elias refused to name the father or come home in shame, stopped reaching out. Milan was supposed to be a fresh start. Anonymous. A place where no one knew him as the Omega who got pregnant and dumped. Instead, it's become a different kind of prison. The doctor said you're dehydrated and malnourished, Luca says, still in that maddeningly calm voice. He wants to keep you overnight for observation. I can't afford. Panic spikes through Elias's chest. I don't have insurance that covers. It's handled. What? The bill. It's handled. Elias stares at this stranger who speaks like paying for a private clinic stay is equivalent to buying coffee. I can't accept that. I don't even know you. You don't have to know me to accept help. I can't take your charity. It's not charity. Consider it an apology. For what? For not noticing sooner that someone at my conference was struggling. Luca stands and Elias realizes he's taller than he appeared sitting down. Broader. The kind of alpha presence that would normally make Elias nervous, but somehow doesn't. Rest. Eat what the nurses bring you. We can discuss everything else tomorrow. There's nothing to discuss. I'll be gone tomorrow. Will you? Luca pauses at the door. Where will you go? The question isn't cruel. Just factual. And Elias has no answer. Back to his studio with the broken heating and the neighbors who complain about Omega cents? Back to skipping meals and pretending he's fine? Back to a life that's slowly killing him and the baby he's fighting so hard to protect? Luca seems to read the answer on his face. Tomorrow, he repeats. We'll talk tomorrow. He's gone before Elias can protest. Tomorrow comes with breakfast in bed, a doctor's clearance, and Luca Ferri sitting in the same chair, reading a financial newspaper like he has nowhere else to be. You came back, Elias says stupidly. I said I would. Luca folds the paper. How are you feeling? Better. Thank you. For everything. But I really can't accept. I have a proposition for you. Elias's stomach clenches. He's heard propositions before. From alphas who saw a pregnant Omega as vulnerable. Easy. Desperate enough to accept things no one should have to accept. His scent must give away his fear because Luca's expression softens. Not that kind of proposition. I'm not interested in. That's not what this is. Then what is it? I need a translator for my company's European expansion. Someone fluent in French, English, and Italian. Someone who understands cultural nuances. Luca tilts his head slightly. Your resume says you have a degree in linguistics and 3 years' experience in the art world. You're overqualified, actually. You looked into me? I look into everyone I'm considering hiring. Hope and suspicion war in Elias's chest. Why would you hire me? I'm 4 months pregnant. I collapsed at your conference. Capable, educated, and in need of stable employment. Luca cuts through his spiral with precision. The pregnancy is irrelevant. I need your skills, not your reproductive status. No one else sees it that way. I'm not no one else. The simple statement carries weight. Truth. This feels like charity, Elias whispers. This is business. Luca pulls out a contract, already prepared, already official. Standard salary, health insurance that covers pregnancy and delivery, parental leave. The position is in Zurich, where my main office is located. I can arrange temporary housing until you find something permanent. Elias stares at the contract. The numbers blur. The salary alone is more than he's made in the past 4 months combined. Why? His voice breaks. Why would you do this for someone you don't know? Luca is quiet for a long moment. When he speaks, there's something in his voice Elias can't quite identify. Let's just say I understand what it's like to face impossible odds alone. And I learned that sometimes the kindness of strangers is the only thing that saves you. There's a story there. Pain hidden beneath that controlled exterior. I don't need saving, Elias says, but it sounds weak even to his own ears. No. You need a job and health insurance. I'm offering both. Luca stands, setting the contract on the bedside table. Take the day to think about it. If you're interested, my assistant's number is on the last page. He's almost to the door when Elias calls out, what if people ask? About the baby. About the father. Luca turns back and something in his expression makes Elias's breath catch. Tell them it's none of their business. Or tell them the truth. Either way, it won't affect your employment. The truth is complicated. Most truths are. Elias signs the contract that night. By the end of the week, he's in Zurich, installed in a furnished apartment overlooking the lake. By the end of the month, he's proved his worth 10 times over, translating complex technical documents and smoothing over cultural misunderstandings that would have derailed deals. Luca treats him like a colleague. Respectful. Professional. Never intrusive. But he also notices things. When Elias skips lunch, food appears at his desk. When he mentions difficulty sleeping, an ergonomic chair materializes. When he admits he doesn't have a doctor in Zurich yet, Luca's assistant books him with the best prenatal specialist in the city. You don't have to do this, Elias says after the 5th unsolicited kindness. I'm taking care of my employee, Luca replies. You're valuable. I'm investing in keeping you healthy. But it feels like more than that. It feels like someone finally seeing him as human. The rumors start 2 months later. At a charity gala, Elias attends as Luca's translator. He's 6 months pregnant now, impossible to hide. The whispers follow him through the glittering crowd. That's Ferri's translator. Pregnant and unmated. Do you think it's his? He's too smart to get involved with an Omega in trouble. Unless he's the one who got him in trouble. Elias tries to ignore it. He's developed thick skin over the past months. But when he retreats to the bathroom and finds 3 Omega socialites openly mocking him, desperate, trap, pathetic, something inside him cracks. He's rushing toward the exit, vision blurred with tears, when a firm hand catches his elbow. Luca. What happened? Nothing. I'm fine. I just need air. Luca's eyes scan his face, then the bathroom door where the Omegas are emerging. Understanding flashes across his features. Stay here. Luca, don't. But he's already walking back into the ballroom, making his way to the stage where the event organizer is preparing to announce the evening's donations. Elias watches in horror as Luca takes the microphone. Before we continue, I'd like to address something. His voice carries authority that silences the room. There have been questions about my personal life. Speculation. Rumors. I prefer to keep my private life private, but it seems that courtesy isn't being extended to someone I care about. The room goes deadly quiet. Elias Laurent is here tonight as my guest and my partner. The child he's carrying is mine. Elias's world tilts. I will not tolerate disrespect toward him or invasive questions about our family. Is that clear? It's not a question. It's a command. The room erupts in whispers, but they're different now. Deferential. Respectful. Luca returns to Elias's side, his expression unchanged. We're leaving. You told them. Elias can't form coherent words. I told them what they needed to hear. But it's not true. The baby isn't. Does that matter? Luca's eyes meet his. You needed protection. I provided it. By lying? By letting them think you're the father? By giving you the safety you deserve. They're in Luca's car before Elias can process what just happened. The city lights blur past as they drive in silence. You can't do this, Elias finally says. You can't claim someone else's child. It's not fair to you. Fair is irrelevant. Effective is what matters. Luca. The father abandoned you. Luca's voice is harder now. He rejected both of you. I'm simply offering what he should have provided from the beginning. But everyone will think. Let them think it. Does it bother you? Having people believe the baby is mine. Elias opens his mouth to say yes. But the word won't come. Because the truth is, no. It doesn't bother him. Having people think Luca Ferri, strong, kind, impossibly decent Luca, is his baby's father feels infinitely better than admitting the real father wanted them both erased. This will change everything, Elias whispers. Your reputation, your business relationships. My reputation can handle it. The question is, can you? Can he? Can he accept this strange, unasked-for protection? Can he let this near stranger claim his child to spare him from judgment? Elias looks down at his swollen belly, where his son kicks persistently against his ribs. His son who deserves better than shame. His son who deserves an alpha willing to claim him. Even if that alpha isn't his biological father. Why would you do this? Elias asks for the 100th time. Luca is quiet for a long moment. Because I know what it's like to be alone. And I know what it means when someone chooses to stay. There's that story again. That pain. Someone stayed for you, Elias guesses. Once. A long time ago. When I had nothing to offer but problems. Luca's fingers tighten on the steering wheel. I'm just returning the favor to the universe. They pull up to Elias's apartment. You don't have to decide anything tonight, Luca says. But know this, I meant what I said in there. You're under my protection now. Anyone who disrespects you disrespects me. Elias should argue. Should insist this is crazy. Instead he says, thank you. Get some rest, Elias. We'll talk tomorrow. Tomorrow. Always tomorrow with Luca. Always another day of unexpected kindness. Elias climbs out of the car but pauses before closing the door. Luca? The person who stayed for you. Did you ever get to thank them? Something sad crosses Luca's face. No. I lost them before I understood what they'd given me. Don't make my mistake, Elias. When someone offers you kindness, take it. The car pulls away, leaving Elias standing in the soft glow of streetlights, one hand on his belly, his whole world transformed in a single evening. His phone buzzes. A text from an unknown number. Saw the news. You landed well. Congratulations. Julien. After 6 months of silence, now he reaches out. Now that Elias has something he wants, proximity to power, perhaps. Or maybe just the satisfaction of seeing Elias's life validated by another alpha's claim. Elias deletes the message without responding. Whatever Julien wants, it's 6 months too late. He has a new life now. A job. Security. And an alpha who chose to stay when staying was difficult. That's worth more than any apology Julien could offer. Chapter 4. The family they chose. 3 months later, Zurich Medical Center. Elias has been in labor for 14 hours when Luca finally asks the question that's been hanging between them for months. Do you want me to leave? What? Elias gasps between contractions, sweat plastering his hair to his forehead. Why would I? This is intimate. Private. I'm not. Luca hesitates, and it's the first time Elias has seen him uncertain about anything. I'm not actually the father. You might want. Stay. Elias grabs his hand with surprising strength. Please. I need you here. Something shifts in Luca's expression. Relief maybe. Or something deeper that Elias is too exhausted to decipher. Then I'm not going anywhere. And he doesn't. When the contractions intensify, Luca holds Elias's hand and lets him squeeze hard enough to leave bruises. When Elias screams that he can't do this, Luca leans close and tells him, You can. You're the strongest person I know. When the doctor says it's time to push, Luca supports Elias's back, murmuring encouragement in Italian. Soft words Elias doesn't understand but that somehow make everything bearable. And when Mathis Ferri enters the world at 3:47 a.m., screaming his displeasure at the cold and the light. It's Luca who cuts the cord with shaking hands. The nurse places the baby on Elias's chest, and the world narrows to this tiny, perfect creature. Dark hair. Scrunched face. Impossibly small fingers that grip Elias's thumb with unexpected strength. He's beautiful, Luca says, his voice rough with emotion. Elias looks up to find tears tracking down Luca's face, the first time he's seen this controlled, powerful man cry. Do you want to hold him? Elias asks. I don't want to intrude. Luca. Elias smiles through his own tears. You just spent 14 hours coaching me through labor. I think you've earned the right to hold him. Luca takes Mathis with the careful reverence of someone holding something precious and breakable. The baby settles immediately against his chest, those tiny fingers curling into Luca's shirt. And Elias sees it, the moment Luca falls completely in love. Not with Elias. Not with the idea of fatherhood. With this specific child, who isn't his by blood but who he's already claimed in every way that matters. Hello, Piccolo, Luca whispers. I'm Luca. I'm going to take care of you. I promise. It's a vow. Sacred and unbreakable. And watching them together, this alpha who chose them, this baby who will never know he was unwanted, Elias feels something inside him finally heal. 6 weeks later. The 3 a.m. feedings are destroying Elias. He's stumbling toward Mathis's nursery for the third time that night when he finds Luca already there, the baby cradled against his bare chest, a bottle in hand. I've got him, Luca says softly. Go back to bed. You have a board meeting in 4 hours. And you haven't slept more than 2 hours straight in 6 weeks. But now, Elias is too exhausted to argue. He wakes 6 hours later, sunlight streaming through his window, panic spiking through his chest. Mathis. The feeding. He must be screaming. He rushes to the nursery to find it empty. Following the sound of soft singing, he finds Luca in the living room, Mathis asleep on his chest, while Luca works one-handed on his laptop, completely unbothered by the drool soaking into his expensive shirt. You let me sleep, Elias accuses. You needed it. You had a board meeting. I rescheduled. Luca doesn't look up from his screen. They can wait. You needed sleep more than they needed my presence. Luca, you can't just rearrange your entire life. Why not? You're my family. This is what family does. Family. The word lands with the weight of a promise. Elias has spent months trying to define what they are. Employer and employee. Alpha and Omega. Protector and protected. But Luca just said it so simply. Family. I don't know how to thank you, Elias whispers. Then don't. Just let me help. And he does. 8 months later. Mathis takes his first steps during a video call. Luca is in Tokyo for a conference, and Elias has gotten into the habit of calling him every evening so Mathis can see his face. The baby lights up every time Luca appears on screen, reaching for the phone with chubby hands. Show me what you learned today, Piccolo, Luca says, and Elias could swear the exhaustion in his voice lifts slightly. Elias sets Mathis on his feet, holding his hands. And then, maybe showing off, maybe just ready, Mathis lets go. 1 step. 2. 3 wobbling steps before he plops down on his bottom, looking stunned by his own achievement. Through the phone, Luca makes a choked sound. Did he just? He walked. Elias is laughing and crying simultaneously. Luca, he walked. I missed it. There's genuine pain in Luca's voice. His first steps and I missed it. You didn't miss it. You're right here. Elias turns the phone so Luca can see Mathis, who's already trying again, determined. We waited for you. The silence on the other end is heavy. Elias. Yes. I'm coming home. Your conference isn't over for 3 more days. I'm coming home. Tonight. I've missed enough. I'm not missing any more. He arrives 26 hours later, disheveled from travel, and the first thing he does is drop to his knees and hold his arms open. Show me again, Mathis. Show Papa what you can do. The word slips out so naturally that Elias's breath catches. Papa. Not show Luca, or show me. Papa. Mathis squeals with delight and toddles the 5 steps into Luca's arms, both of them laughing as Luca catches him and lifts him high. That's my boy. You're so strong. So clever. Elias watches them, his heart doing something complicated in his chest. Luca has never pushed. Never asked to be called Papa or demanded recognition. He's just been there, constant and steady until the title became inevitable. That night, after Mathis is asleep, they sit together on the balcony overlooking the lake. "I'm sorry," Luca says quietly, "for calling myself that. I shouldn't assume." "Don't apologize." Elias turns to face him. "You are his papa. In every way that matters. His biological father. Isn't here. Didn't want to be here. Will never be here." Elias says it without bitterness now. Just fact. "You're the one who stayed up with him when he had colic. You're the one who changed diapers at 4 a.m. and learned to make bottles one-handed. You're the one he reaches for when he's scared. Biology still matters. Not as much as choice." Elias reaches over, covering Luca's hand with his own. "You chose us, Luca. Every single day you choose us. That makes you more of a father than DNA ever could." Luca's fingers lace through his. "I never expected this." "What?" "To feel this way. To love him this much." Luca's voice drops. "To love both of you this much." The confession hangs in the air between them. Elias's heart stutters. "Luca, I'm not asking for anything. I need you to know that. You don't owe me affection or romance or anything beyond what you want to give." Luca's thumb brushes over Elias's knuckles. "But I need to be honest. This stopped being about protection months ago. Maybe it was never just about protection." "When?" Elias whispers. "When did you know?" "The hospital. When you grabbed my hand and said you needed me. I thought I was playing a role. Pretending for the sake of appearances." Luca's smile is self-deprecating. "Turns out I wasn't pretending at all." Elias should be scared. Should pull away. He's only been apart from Julien for just over a year. He's still healing. Still learning to trust. But looking at Luca, this man who has asked for nothing and given everything, Elias realizes he's already healed. Luca did that. Not by fixing him but by creating a space where Elias could fix himself. "I'm terrified," Elias admits. "Of what?" "Of this. Of trusting again. Of believing someone could actually love me without conditions." "I understand." Luca squeezes his hand. "Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere." "You keep saying that." "Because I keep meaning it." Elias leans his head against Luca's shoulder, feeling the solid warmth of him. "Say, real. Here. Ask me again in 6 months," he says softly. "Ask you what?" "If I'm ready. If I can trust this. If I can believe that someone like you could actually love someone like me." Luca presses a kiss to the top of his head, gentle, chaste, full of promise. "I'll ask you every day for the rest of our lives if that's what you need. But the answer won't change, Elias. I already love you. Both of you. Completely." 2 years later. Mathis is 3 years old when he accidentally calls Elias Papa Elias for the first time. They're at the park, Luca pushing Mathis on the swings while Elias watches from a bench, and Mathis shouts, "Papa Elias, look how high." He doesn't even realize what he said. But Elias hears it. And Luca hears it. And when their eyes meet across the playground, Elias sees the question in Luca's gaze. "Is this okay? Are we okay? Are we really doing this?" Elias smiles, genuinely, freely, without the weight of old wounds holding him back. And nods. They're doing this. They've been doing this for 3 years, building something real from broken pieces. That night, after Mathis is asleep, Luca finds Elias in the kitchen. "So," he says, trying to sound casual and failing. "Papa Elias." "I know. How do you feel about that?" Elias turns to face him. "How do you feel about being Papa Luca?" "Like it's the greatest honor of my life." "Then I feel the same way." Luca crosses the kitchen in 3 strides, cupping Elias's face in his hands. "It's been 6 months." "What?" "You asked me to ask you again in 6 months." "It's been 6 months." Luca's eyes search his. "Are you ready?" "For what?" "To believe that I love you. To trust that I'm not going anywhere. To maybe, possibly, consider that this could be forever." Elias's breath catches. "You want forever?" "I've wanted forever since the moment I saw you refuse to give up, even when you had every reason to." Luca's voice is steady, certain. "I'm not Julien. I won't leave when things get hard. I won't measure my love in conveniences. I will choose you every single day in every single way that matters." "How can you be so sure?" "Because I already have been. For 3 years. And I'll keep doing it for the next 50 if you'll let me." Elias kisses him. It's not their first kiss. They've been dancing around this for months, soft touches and gentle exploration. But this kiss is different. This kiss is a promise. This kiss is yes. When they finally break apart, both breathing hard, Luca rests his forehead against Elias's. Marry me. What? Marry me. Make this official. Let me be your husband and Mathis's father in every legal sense. Luca pulls back just enough to meet his eyes. I know I'm not his biological father. I know there's someone out there who might have that claim. But I'm the one who was there. I'm the one who chose him. And I'm the one who will never ever leave. Luca? You don't have to answer now. Think about it. But know that I mean it. I want all of it, Elias. The good days and the hard ones. The midnight feedings and the terrible twos and the teenage years. I want lazy Sundays and stressful Mondays and everything in between. Elias thinks about Julien. About love that disappeared the moment it was tested. Then he thinks about Luca. About 3 years of steady, unwavering presence. About a man who flies home early just to see a baby take his first steps. About someone who holds you through labor for a child that isn't his and calls it an honor. Yes, he whispers. Yes. Yes, I'll marry you. Yes, I trust you. Yes, I love you. Elias laughs through sudden tears. Yes to all of it. Luca kisses him again and this time it tastes like joy. Present-day Geneva. Julien stands on the cobblestones, watching his son disappear around the corner with 2 people who love him more than he ever could. And he realizes too late that some decisions can't be unmade. Some losses are permanent. Some families are built not by blood, but by who shows up. And he chose not to show up. Now all he can do is watch the life that should have been his, knowing he gave it away. Chapter 5. The Truth He Can't Escape. 3 days after the cafe. Julien hasn't slept in 72 hours. His Geneva hotel suite is covered in papers, printed emails, time-stamped photographs, medical records he had no right to obtain but paid handsomely for anyway. The evidence spreads across every surface like an accusation. Birth certificate. Mathis Luca Ferri. Born March 15, Zurich Medical Center. He counts backward. 9 months from March puts conception at June. Their weekend in Nice was the first week of June. Julien remembers that weekend with painful clarity. It was the last time things felt real between them. The last time he'd let himself be fully present instead of mentally running through case files and partnership politics. They'd made love on the balcony overlooking the Mediterranean, Elias laughing breathlessly as Julien whispered promises he never intended to keep. Forever. Always. You're everything. Lies that felt like truth in the moment. 4 weeks later, Elias told him about the pregnancy. 6 weeks later, Elias was gone. And now, 4 years later, Julien is staring at school enrollment documents he should never have been able to access, seeing his own childhood handwriting in Mathis's awkward attempts at letters. The resemblance isn't subtle. It's damning. His phone buzzes. His private investigator, because of course Julien hired one, unable to leave well enough alone. Final report attached. DNA probability based on photographic analysis. 94%. Birth records confirm no other candidates during the conception window. Subject Elias Laurent had no other partners during the relationship period. The child is yours. Yours. The word hits like a freight train. Julien opens the attached photo file with shaking hands. Pictures the investigator pulled from social media, public records, society pages. Mathis on his first day of school, backpack nearly as big as he is, grinning at the camera. Those are Julien's eyes. His smile. Mathis at a charity gala, holding Luca's hand, wearing a tiny suit. Julien's grandmother's nose. His father's stubborn chin. Mathis at the lake, laughing as Elias chases him, and Julien can see himself at that age in every angle of that small, perfect face. His son. Not maybe. Not possibly. Definitively, undeniably his. And Julien told Elias to get rid of him. The nausea hits so hard Julien barely makes it to the bathroom. He retches until there's nothing left, his body trying to purge the guilt that's taken root in his chest. When he can finally breathe again, he catches sight of himself in the mirror. He looks haunted. Good. He deserves to be haunted. Julien pulls up every article, every photograph, every mention of Elias Laurent and Luca Ferri he can find. The timeline is there for anyone willing to look. June, a nice weekend. Conception. July, engagement ends. Elias disappears. August through November, no public records. Elias vanishes completely. December, first appearance in Milan. Visibly pregnant. Alone. January, Elias collapses at tech conference. Luca Ferri involved. February, Elias accepts position with Ferri Industries. Relocates to Zurich. March, Mathis born. Luca Ferri listed as attending father. April, first public appearance together. Luca publicly claims paternity. That last one makes Julien's blood boil. He finds the charity gala footage, watches Luca take the microphone and lie to a room full of Geneva's elite. The child he's carrying is mine. It's not a claim. It's a theft. Luca Ferri stole Julien's son and Elias let him. No worse than that. Elias chose him. Julien keeps digging, each new piece of information another knife to the chest. Photos of Luca at prenatal appointments, his hand protective on Elias's back. Birth announcement with both names. Elias Laurent and Luca Ferri are pleased to announce the birth of Mathis Laurent Ferri. Laurent Ferri. Not even a hyphen. Like Julien never existed. First birthday party photos. Mathis covered in cake, Luca laughing as he wipes chocolate from the baby's face. Second birthday. Third. Fourth. 4 years of milestones Julien missed. First steps. First words. First day of school. All documented. All celebrated. All with the wrong father. The encounter he shouldn't arrange. Julien knows it's wrong even as he does it. He uses his connections, the same ones he once used to build his career, to find out where Elias works. Ferri Industries main office, Zurich. He books a flight. He tells himself he just wants to talk. To explain. To apologize. He's lying to himself again. What he really wants is to disrupt the perfect little life Elias has built. To remind him that Mathis isn't Lucas, no matter what documents say. He wants Elias to hurt the way Julien is hurting. He waits outside Ferri Industries on a Wednesday afternoon, watching employees stream out. His heart pounds against his ribs, palms sweating despite the cool air. Then he sees him. Elias looks different than he did at the cafe. Professional. Confident. He's wearing a tailored suit that probably costs more than Julien's first car, his hair shorter, his posture straighter. He looks successful. Happy. He looks like someone who survived Julien and became better for it. The realization is devastating. Elias is halfway to his car when he notices Julien. He stops. For a moment, neither of them moves. Then Elias's expression shifts into something carefully neutral. The look you'd give a stranger, not someone you once promised forever. Julien. His voice is steady. Controlled. What are you doing here? I needed to see you. You saw me at the cafe. And before that you had 5 years. The words are surgical. Precise. I didn't know, Julien says, hating how desperate he sounds. About Mathis. I didn't know you kept him? Elias's composure cracks slightly. You mean the child you told me to terminate? The problem you wanted me to fix? I was scared. I was young and stupid and terrified of how it would change everything. It did change everything. Elias steps closer, and Julien sees something fierce in his eyes now. It made me stronger. Braver. It taught me what real love actually looks like. He's my son. The words hang between them. No, Elias says quietly. He's Luca's son. Luca was there for every appointment, every midnight feeding, every fever and nightmare. Luca is the one Mathis calls Papa. Biology doesn't make you a father, Julien. Being there does. I didn't know he existed. Because you told me to make sure he didn't. The shout echoes in the parking garage. Several people turn to look. Elias takes a breath, visibly collecting himself. You made your choice 5 years ago. Don't you dare come here now and pretend you were some victim of circumstance. I made a mistake. You made a choice. There's a difference. I want to meet him. The words tumble out. Properly. I want to know my son. Elias laughs, but there's no humor in it. Your son. You reject him when he's an inconvenience, but now that someone else has raised him into a happy, healthy child, you want to claim him. I have rights. You have nothing. Elias's voice goes cold. You abandoned us. You told me the child might not even be yours, remember? You questioned whether I'd been faithful, implied I was trying to trap you. Well, congratulations, Julien. You successfully avoided the trap. Now live with it. Elias, please. You want to know what Mathis knows about his biological father? Elias steps even closer now, close enough that Julien can see the flecks of gold in his eyes. He knows that once upon a time, someone wasn't ready to be a parent. And he knows that another man chose to be his papa anyway. That's the story he'll grow up with. That's the truth that matters. What about my truth? Don't I get a say? You had your say. Elias's voice breaks slightly. You said you didn't want us. The rest of us have just been living with your decision. The car pulls up, sleek, expensive. The back window rolls down and Mathis's small face appears, breaking into a wide smile. Papa Elias, we got gelato. Julien's breath stops. That voice. That face. His son so close he could reach out and touch him. Luca is driving. His eyes meet Julien's through the windshield and there's no animosity there. Just a calm assessment that somehow feels worse than anger. This man knows exactly who Julien is. And he's not threatened at all. Because he's already won. Coming mon cœur. Elias calls back then turns to Julien one last time. Go home, Julien. Go back to Paris and your career and the life you chose. Let us have the life we built. I can't just. Yes, you can. You did it once already. You're just angry that we survived it. Elias walks to the car, slides into the passenger seat and leans over to kiss Luca. Brief, familiar, real. Through the window, Julien watches Mathis chatter excitedly, watches Luca respond with patient attention, watches Elias reach back to ruffle their son's hair. The perfect family tableau. Missing only the biological father who chose not to show up. The car pulls away, and Julien is left standing in an empty parking garage, hands shaking, heart splintering. He pulls out his phone. Opens his contacts. Finds the number for his attorney. I need you to look into paternity rights in Switzerland. Specifically, cases where the father wasn't aware of the child's existence. He can fight this. He has resources, connections, money. He can force DNA tests, demand custody hearings, make them acknowledge his rights as the biological father. He can dismantle the life they've built and force himself into it. His finger hovers over the send button. Then he remembers Mathis's laugh. The easy way he called Luca Papa. The security in his small face as he sat between his parents. Julien thinks about what forcing himself into that life would do to that happy, loved child. And for the first time in 5 years, Julien makes a decision that isn't about himself. He deletes the message. 2 weeks later, Paris to Zurich. Julien shows up at Elias's apartment on a Saturday morning with flowers and the weight of 5 years of regret. He's rehearsed this. Planned it. Hired a therapist specifically to help him articulate what he needs to say. He's prepared for anger, for rejection, for doors slammed in his face. What he's not prepared for is Elias opening the door in worn jeans and a paint-stained shirt, Mathis visible behind him building an elaborate tower of blocks, and simply saying, I wondered when you'd come back. Not if. When. Like Julien's inability to let go was predictable. Pathetic even. Can we talk? Julien holds out the flowers. Peonies, Elias's favorites. He remembers that much. Elias looks at them without taking them. Luca's picking Mathis up in an hour for their swimming lesson. You have until then. It's not an invitation. It's a time limit. Elias steps aside, letting Julien enter the home he's built without him. The apartment is beautiful, warm and lived in a way their Paris place never was. Children's drawings cover the refrigerator. Photos line the mantel. Mathis's first day of school, a family trip to the mountains, Elias and Luca laughing at some private joke. There's not a single picture of Julien. He's been erased completely. Mathis, Elias calls gently. Why don't you play in your room for a bit? The grown-ups need to talk. Is that the man from the street? Mathis asks, peering around Elias with open curiosity. The one who found elephant? Julien's throat closes. His son doesn't even know who he is. Yes, mon cœur. He's an old friend of mine. Oh, okay. Mathis bounces off, completely uninterested in this stranger, and Julien feels the dismissal like a physical blow. Elias gestures to the sofa. They sit on opposite ends, the space between them feeling like miles. You wanted to talk, Elias says. So talk. Julien has a speech prepared. 12 pages of carefully crafted apology, workshopped with his therapist until every word was perfect. But sitting here, faced with Elias's patient, unmoved expression, all those practiced words evaporate. I'm sorry. For what, specifically? The clinical tone cuts. Elias isn't going to make this easy. For everything. For asking you to terminate the pregnancy. For implying you were unfaithful. For letting you walk away. For not reaching out. Julien's hands shake. 4 or 5 years of absence. For being too much of a coward to choose you when it mattered. Elias listens without interruption. Without softening. I was scared, Julien continues, desperation creeping into his voice. I was terrified of failing as a father, of losing my career, of not being enough. The partnership was so close and I'd worked so hard. So you chose your career over your family. I chose wrong. Julien leans forward. I know that now. I see what I lost. What I threw away. And I'm asking, begging, for a chance to fix it. You can't fix this, Julien. Why not? People make mistakes. People get second chances. Some mistakes don't get second chances. Elias's voice is maddeningly calm. Some choices are final. He's my son. The words burst out too loud, too raw. Doesn't that count for something? It counts for biology. Nothing more. That's not fair. Fair? For the first time, real emotion cracks through Elias's composure. You want to talk about fair? Was it fair when I was 7 months pregnant and couldn't afford prenatal vitamins? Was it fair when I collapsed from malnutrition at a conference because I was skipping meals to save money? Was it fair when other Omegas whispered about me in bathrooms, calling me a whore for being pregnant and unmated? Julien flinches with each accusation. You made your choice in Paris, Elias continues. You chose your comfort, your career, your reputation. You don't get to waltz back in now that the hard part is over and claim the rewards. I loved you. I still love you. The confession falls flat. Elias looks at him with something that might be pity. No, Julien. You love the idea of me. The version that was convenient and uncomplicated. The moment I became real, messy and demanding and pregnant, you ran. I made a mistake. You made a choice. Elias stands pacing to the window. Love that disappears when tested isn't love. It's convenience wearing love's mask. That's not fair. People get scared. Luca was scared too. The name lands like a slap. Luca, Julien spits, unable to keep the venom from his voice. The man who swooped in and played hero with my family. Your family? Elias turns and there's steel in his eyes now. You forfeited that claim when you told me to fix the problem. He's not Mathis's father. He's more Mathis's father than you'll ever be. The certainty in Elias's voice is devastating. He teaches Mathis to swim, helps him with his letters, sits through terrible children's theater productions and pretends they're Broadway shows. He knows Mathis is afraid of thunderstorms and loves strawberries but hates strawberry-flavored anything. He knows exactly how to cut the crusts off sandwiches and which stuffed animal Mathis needs to sleep. Each detail is a knife. Do you know any of that, Julien? Do you know your son at all? I would if you'd let me. I didn't stop you. You stopped yourself 5 years ago. Julien stands, frustration boiling over. So what, I'm just supposed to accept this? Accept that some stranger gets to raise my child? Luca isn't a stranger. He's Mathis's papa. And he earned that title through 4 years of showing up. I could fight this. Legally, I have rights. Try it. Elias's voice goes cold. Take me to court. Demand DNA tests. Force your way into Mathis's life. He steps closer, unflinching. And I will tell that judge every detail of how you rejected us. How you suggested the baby wasn't yours. How you never once reached out to see if we survived. Elias. I will bring character witnesses who'll testify to Luca's 4 years of active parenting versus your 5 years of absence. I will show them photos of Mathis's birthdays, his first steps, his first day of school, all the moments you missed by choice. Julien's hands clench into fists. You can't keep him from me forever. I'm not keeping him from you. You are. Elias's expression softens slightly, but not with warmth. With pity. You're so focused on what you've lost that you can't see what Mathis has gained. He has 2 parents who adore him. Who chose him. Who will never make him feel like an inconvenience. I wouldn't. You already did. The words hit like a punch. Through the window, Julien sees a car pull up. Expensive. Familiar. Luca. Your hour's up, Elias says quietly. Please. Just let me talk to him. Let me explain. Explain what? That you're his biological father but didn't want him? That you rejected him before he was born but changed your mind now that someone else did the hard work. Elias shakes his head. That's not a conversation a 4-year-old needs to have. So what am I supposed to do? Just walk away again? That's your choice to make. Just like it was 5 years ago. The apartment door opens. Luca enters and Julien is struck by how at home he looks. This isn't his apartment, but he moves through it with easy familiarity, setting down a bag of groceries, calling out, "Mathis. Ready for swimming? Papa." Mathis barrels out of his room, launching himself at Luca, who catches him with practiced ease. Julien watches his son hug another man. Watches Luca press a kiss to Mathis's dark hair. Watches the easy affection that speaks to thousands of similar moments. Luca's eyes find Julien's. There's no triumph there. No smugness. Just quiet certainty. "Julien." Luca nods, polite. "Professional. I heard you were in town." "We were just finishing," Elias says quickly. "Were we?" Julien can't keep the bitterness from his voice. "Or were we just getting started?" Luca sets Mathis down gently. "Mon cœur, go get your swim bag. I'll be there in a moment." Mathis runs off, oblivious to the tension crackling through the room. Luca turns to Julien, and for the first time, Julien sees something other than calm patience. Something protective and fierce. "I know who you are," Luca says quietly. "I know what you are to Mathis biologically. And I know what you did to Elias. Then you know I have every right." "Rights?" Luca's voice doesn't rise, but something in his tone makes Julien step back. "You want to talk about rights? You have the right to DNA. That's all. Everything else, love, trust, the privilege of being called Papa, those are earned. And you think you've earned them? I know I have. No arrogance. Just fact. I was there when Elias was so sick from morning sickness he couldn't keep water down. I was there when he went into labor terrified and alone. I was there for Mathis's first breath and every breath since. You're not his father. I'm the only father he's ever known." Luca steps closer. "And if you truly care about that child, you'll think very carefully about what barging into his life will do to him. He deserves to know the truth. He deserves to feel safe and loved. Everything else is secondary. You can't keep me from him." "I'm not trying to." Luca's expression softens slightly. "But I am asking you to consider what you're really trying to accomplish here. Are you trying to build a relationship with Mathis? Or are you trying to punish Elias for moving on?" The question hits too close to home. "I just want my son. He's not a possession to want. He's a child who needs stability." Luca glances at Elias, something unspoken passing between them. "If you're serious about being in his life, then prove it. Not with flowers and apologies. With time. With consistency. With actually being there." "How am I supposed to do that when you won't let me near him?" "I never said I wouldn't." Luca exchanges another look with Elias. "But this isn't about what you want or what I want. It's about what's best for Mathis. And right now, I'm not convinced that's you." Mathis runs back in, swim bag bouncing against his small back. "Ready, Papa." Luca's expression transforms, all the hardness melting into pure warmth. "Then let's go, Piccolo. Say goodbye to Papa Elias." Mathis runs to Elias, who scoops him up for a kiss. "Have fun, mon cœur. Listen to Papa Luca." "I always do." Mathis giggles. They leave, Mathis chattering about wanting to practice his underwater swimming, and Julien is left alone with Elias in the suddenly too quiet apartment. "He's good with him," Julien says, hating that he has to admit it. "He's wonderful with him. Because he loves him. I could love him too. If you'd give me a chance." Elias sits back down, suddenly looking exhausted. "Could you, Julien? Could you love a child who disrupts your schedule? Who needs you at inconvenient times? Who might embarrass you in front of your colleagues or slow down your career advancement?" "That's not fair." "It's a fair question. Because that's what parenting is." Mathis had colic for 3 months. Luca walked him in circles at 3 a.m. every single night, missing important meetings, showing up to conferences exhausted. Could you have done that? Julien opens his mouth, closes it. He thinks about his perfectly ordered life in Paris. His pristine apartment. His carefully scheduled days. And he's not sure. "That's what I thought," Elias says softly. "You love the idea of being a father. The Kodak moments. The pride of having a son. But the reality? I don't think you're ready for that. How can I prove I am if you won't let me try? You can start by being honest with yourself about why you're really here. Elias stands moving toward the door, a clear dismissal. Are you here because you love Mathis? Or because you can't stand that Luca has what you threw away? The question hangs in the air, unanswerable. Because Julien doesn't know anymore. Think about it, Elias says, opening the door. And when you have an answer, a real answer, maybe we can talk again. Elias. Goodbye, Julien. It's final. Unmovable. Julien walks out, and this time he knows he can't come back until he's figured out the truth Elias already knows. That wanting something and deserving it are two entirely different things. 1 month later, Paris. Julien sits in his therapist's office, finally ready to admit the truth he's been avoiding. I don't know if I love my son, he says, the words tasting like failure. I know I should. But I look at pictures of him and I feel jealous. Angry. Like he stole something from me. What did he steal? Elias. My future. The life I could have had if things had been different. The life you rejected, his therapist corrects gently. Yes. Julien drops his head into his hands. I rejected them both. And now I'm angry that they survived without me. That's honest. It's horrible. It's a start. Julien looks up. A start to what? To figuring out what you actually want. Not what you think you should want. Not what would make you look good or feel vindicated. What you actually want. Julien thinks about Mathis's laugh. About the way he lit up when Luca entered the room. About the security and joy radiating from that child. And he realizes something that makes his chest ache. He doesn't want to be Mathis's father. He wants to not be the man who abandoned him. But those aren't the same thing. 2 months later, a letter. Julien writes it by hand on actual paper. It takes 17 drafts. Dear Elias, you asked me to figure out why I was really there. I have. I wanted to erase my guilt. I wanted to rewrite history so I wasn't the villain in my own story. I wanted to take credit for a child I didn't raise and claim a family I didn't build. I wanted everything Luca has without having to earn it the way he did. You were right. Love that disappears when tested isn't love. And I failed that test completely. I'm not writing to ask for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I'm writing to tell you that I'm done disrupting the life you've built. I'm done pretending I have any right to Mathis beyond biology. Luca is his father. In every way that matters. And I'm grateful, genuinely grateful, that when I failed you both, someone better was there to catch you. If Mathis ever asks about me, tell him the truth. All of it. He deserves to know that his biological father wasn't ready to be a parent. And he deserves to know that his real papa chose him anyway. I hope you're happy, Elias. I hope Luca treats you the way I should have. I hope Mathis grows up knowing he's loved. And I hope someday you can think of me as something other than the mistake you escaped. Julien. He mails it knowing he might never get a response. He doesn't. But 3 months later he receives a photograph in the mail. No note. No explanation. Just a picture of Mathis on his 5th birthday, covered in chocolate cake, laughing between his 2 papas. On the back in Elias's handwriting, he's loved. That's all you needed to know. Julien frames it. Not because it makes him feel better. But because it reminds him that some losses are permanent, some choices can't be unmade, and some families are built by the people who choose to stay. He wasn't one of them. But at least he can stop pretending he was. Epilogue, the life they chose. 5 years later, Lake Geneva. Mathis is 9 now, tall for his age, with Julien's eyes and Elias's smile and Luca's quiet confidence. He knows he has a biological father somewhere. Elias told him the truth when he turned 7 in age-appropriate terms, the way they'd always promised. Mathis listened carefully, asked a few questions, then said, "So I have a bio-dad who wasn't ready and a real papa who was. That's okay. Papa Luca's pretty great." And that was that. Children are remarkably resilient when they're loved enough. Today they're at the lake. The same lake where Julien first saw them, though none of them know that. Luca is teaching Mathis to skip stones. Elias watches from a blanket, his hand resting on the small bump of their second child. A daughter this time. Planned. Wanted. Already so loved. Think he'll want to meet his bio-dad someday? Luca asks that evening after Mathis is asleep. Maybe, Elias says. Probably. And if he does, we'll support that. You're remarkably generous about this. I'm realistic. Elias leans into Luca's warmth. Biology matters to some people. It might matter to Mathis. And if it does, we'll deal with it. You don't worry I'll feel replaced? Never. Elias tilts his head up for a kiss. You're his papa. Nothing changes that. Not biology. Not curiosity. Nothing. Luca kisses him, soft and sure. I love you. I love you too. Across the city, Julien sees the same sunset from his hotel window. He's in Geneva for business. He didn't try to contact them. Didn't engineer a meeting. He's learned finally that love isn't about possession. Sometimes love is letting go. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone is your absence. And sometimes the family you lose becomes the family you learn to be grateful for, from a distance. Julien closes his laptop and looks at the framed photo on his desk. Mathis at 5, laughing between his parents. The life Julien could have had, if he'd been brave enough to choose it. But he wasn't. And they were better for it.